Hi, Ann Cornick from Paint and Porcelain Exchange. I'm here to teach beginners how to get started in China painting, and for those of you that have been painting a while, hopefully you'll paint along with us. Today we're going to be working on the second fire of our acorns, and this is how my acorn came out. I'm going to be showing you two different ways you can do your final painting on this. The first way is doing the depth in the background, which is something we always do, and it's not uncommon to do it. And then the other will be a wash. I'm going to be using pretty much the same colors as before. This is Carnation, which is a red, but it's a bright red. This is South Brown. South Brown is an orange, and I've got a dark orange up here too. That seems to work pretty well. So if you don't have the South Brown, you can use the orange. I'm using egg. Egg plays well with all, and it's a nice dark yellow, bright yellow. I have yellow brown number 2, or you can use regular yellow brown. I have rich brown, moss, warm brown green. I have auburn. I like auburn. See how it has a little red in it? I kind of like that. This is, boy, I can hardly read. Darkest. That's the darkest green on there. And so those are the colors we'll be using. But that's what I'm using. You can use anything you want. Any yellows, any oranges, any greens, any browns, or any reds that you have. So you don't have to stick to that. Brushes I'm going to be using, I'm doing mainly background stuff this time just to give you an idea of the way you can finish this. So I have, this is my 3/4 inch, or is it? Yeah, 3/8 inch, I'm sorry. This is a 1/4 inch. These are both Scharf brushes. Some people like to know about Scharf brushes. And then this one, gosh, I can't even read whose it is. Oh, it's Langnickel, and it's a 12, but it's a filbert, and I use it for my background. Or you can use, I like this one too. This is one of Paula Collins, and this is a size 20. But what I like about this one is this one's very thick. Now this one's very thin, and the thinness with this and the round corners, high pat, really seems to help. So it just depends what your preference is. I'm going to show you first what I would do for a typical second fire. Then I'm going to wipe that off and show you how I would finish it. Because to do a second and a final fire on this is, you know, it's just, it doesn't take enough time, and this way we can do them both in one session. All right, so I'm going to show you first what I would do on a second coat typically, okay? I'm going to use my big brush. I always use the largest brush I can. I've told you that before. It's something a teacher taught me, and I know the reason why now. Then I didn't understand it, but now I do, and it's because the bigger the brush you use, the smoother your painting will come out. So now when we did this, I must have done the acorns first and then did the leaves around them. I don't know, but anyway, my acorns kind of, I don't know if you can see, but right here, like the acorns kind of choppy, it's not nice and round. I can take care of that though with the background. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with my furthest behind leaves. So these are the darker green. And I'm just going to come here and just do a little bit of that darker green. I think, yeah, that's this guy back here. Okay. And I kind of like that dark green. I'm just going to carry it through to the very edge there. Okay. I'm not doing the background kind of intentionally because I'm going to do a wash for my final coat, and you'll see how that is. Now I'm going to full load with egg and side load with like a darker brown, and come here and just do my darker brown on this guy. This is a maple leaf. The other was kind of an oak leaf. The oak leaves are pretty simple. You just go down the center, lump, lump, and you're done. Okay, and I'm going to use a different brown on this side, I think. Flip them around. Now, see what I said here about the acorn not being round? This is your chance to round it out. Really fix it. With your background colors. There you go. See? I think that helped a little. Okay. And then down here, I'm going to do a side load of yellow and just come down and do a little bit of the yellow. Now, these leaves are very forgiving. You want to add a little red to them, like this, you can. They're, I love doing fall leaves because you can do any color you want on them at all. And they always turn out terrific. So I'm using a little bit of red now, and I'm just, because I feel like it, okay? All right, and then down the center here, you have to look at the center of the leaf. I'm just putting a little bit of veining. I'm just tapping it in. I've always been told to tap it in, but that's just me. Okay, over here, I'm going to use the green again. It kind of comes off a little dark. Let me pick up a little of that. Spread it across this leaf here. Keep it very smooth. I want it smooth. And then down on the end, I think I'm going to put a little bit of orange. Oh, not so much. Just a little orange, okay? And then I'm going to go down here. I should have done this one first, but I'll do it now. This is a dark green. Now, one thing I have to make sure is that on this coat, some of these greens, I didn't bring them out enough, and they kind of look a little stodgy. So I want to, there we go. And I want to clean out, and you can do that this way even. Make sure that your acorn doesn't get eaten up by the background. Okay. And I'm going to do down in here, down in here. Now, this may not be the way that everybody would do this. This is my way. If your teacher does it a different way, then do what she tells you. That's important. I'm going to put a little more green over here on this side. Just pulling it down to the center. And then I'm going to take a little of my yellow brown and just do a little yellow brown. Now, interesting thing if you're new to China painting, if you mix your browns and your greens, if you mix your reds and your greens, you're going to get colors you never expected, and you may be very pleasantly surprised with them. I'm going to add a little orange there. So experiment, and don't be afraid to add some, add some colors in that you didn't anticipate. Because the more colors you mix, as long as you keep them clean your brush in between and what have you, I think you'll find that they add a lot, especially with fall leaves, they add a lot of depth. You can even see here, I'm going to put a little brown on the end here. Look at what it does. You see how that works? I mean, you have to think about what do you want on here. And you may like that brown well enough, you may want to come down the center a little more with that brown. And I just put it on the very tip. I just set my brush in there very, very lightly and just tap it just to get a little. Now here, I got a lot of orange close, but I think I want a little more brown with it. So I'm going to take my orange full load, side load with the brown and come around, kind of tone it down a little. Okay. And the same, oh, too dark. You got to be careful. Some of these browns, especially rich brown, I'm just going to take it off with my finger, can really, 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 really get dark. So you might want to keep like a yellow brown around to kind of tone it down a little. There we go. I just put my yellow brown with it. And that kind of helped. And then I'll come here. I'm just doing the edges of the leaves. That's the way I do my fall leaves. I just do the edges. That way I immediately have a little bit of a highlight in there. And then if I decide I want to do, see, like that, I can do it. I want this a little darker over here. There we go. Squint your eyes. My dad always told me that. Squint your eyes. If you squint your eyes, you'll be amazed how well you can see what your piece is going to look like. Okay, now I'm getting to the little guys here. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. This is my 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to side load my 1/4 inch and just do this side a little bit under the rim, and then this side, and then I'll kind of gently pull it across. Same thing here. I'm going to do here and here, a little under here, and gently pull it across. And here, oops, kind of come across this way. And here, put a little under here, give it a little shadow, and then gently pull it across. And then you can start decorating your acorns. Now, some of them have a little green on them. Oops, didn't get any. I do that all the time. I clean my brush and then I don't. Oops, that's too strong. This is a moss green. You can put a little green on them. I noticed Sandy's had a little green in them. I kind of like that. You could put a little orange. Here's my orange. I kind of like the orange myself, but that's just me. And then you can take a little brown and add a little bit of not so much. A little bit of shadow there. Yeah. And we'll do a little bit of shadow here, and this is what's going to correct this one. See how it got lost under there? Come here, you. There we go. And you can pull the shadow a little towards the middle without covering the middle on both sides. And it will really help bring your little guy out. Or you could put a little shadow back here, and that'll help too. Like here and here. And that will also help. Okay. So then I go back and I just look at it and say, where does it need a little more depth? And mine always need a little depth down the middle. Like that. And this guy, I think, could use a little depth right there. I'm just doing it with the brown a little. Then you need to bring out some of these. Bring them out on top a little. So decide which guys are on top and help bring them out. Take a little bit of your Q-tip or wipeout tool, whatever you have. Here too, you can do it. Put a little, I think they call that a little reflected light on there. There we go. Okay. And that's pretty much how I would do mine. So I would take this and I would fire it, okay? Just as is, with just this in there, okay? I might put a little more yellow in the background too. Okay. And so pretend that the background is a little yellower. Now I'm going to wipe it off. And I'll show you what I would do for my final fire. Okay? I would do a wash. Rich brown. Used my filbert. I did mix a little bit of yellow brown with it because the rich brown alone was kind of stark and kind of dark. So that's my yellow brown there. You see it? And I'm coming towards the center. And you're gonna cover everything. Ah. This is a wash. This is the way I do washes. I don't know how other people do washes. I'm using, for this wash, I'm using my mixture of Randy's mixture of, that I copied of half oil of copaiba and half mineral oil. And I like it because I think it helps a lot in getting the depth. Plus, it dries a little bit quicker for me and sets up a little bit better. And I get a little evener coat with it. I use the what is that? Terpenoid Natural most of the time. But when it comes to something like this where I'm doing a wash, I use the other mixture. I like copaiba for a wash. I've always used copaiba ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. When I was learning with my mom at the teacher that we went to, Gladys Bug, and she always used copaiba. So we used copaiba. And I do like it. Now, you're going to want to try to get it as smooth as you can, okay? And you're just going to keep going over everything. To get it smooth, you go up to the end of your brush, and you just pull. And the further you are away from the painting part of your brush, the more apt you are to get a nice, even color. Wiggle in your paint. This is what I'm doing. I'm taking a little of this up here. See that? And then I'm taking a little of this down here. And I'm just plopping it on. There is nothing to this. You too can be a plopper. It takes a little while to do this, but I figured, oops, I got red, sorry. Here we go. I think I got rid of the red. Yeah. It takes a little while to do this, and you have to keep adding a little bit, just like the very edge of oil, wiping it off and going back in. You want it all to be about the same moisture level, because that's very key to having this set up the same way. You want the coverage to be pretty good. Okay, so here we go. Now, if you want to pat this, you can. I don't pat it at this point. I might pat it at the end. But if I pat it at this point with a sponge is what I mean. I don't know. You can, I guess. It's up to you. I just try to get it as smooth as I can. Now the edges I will pat later. It's the center that I'm concentrating on now. Can you see? Can you see the design in there? Let me look on the monitor here. Yeah, you can. Okay, that's what we're concerned about now. So what you're going to do is take your brush, you're going to dip it in your terp, clean it really well. Then you're going to take a towel and pat it as well as you can. Get all that oil out of there, everything out of there, especially the turpentine, okay? And then you're going to go in and you're going to very gingerly start wiping out what you have here. Now remember, we would have done another, the color in the background will be a lot darker because you would have done another layer of, oh, I want the highlight on this side. You have to remember where the sun is coming from, because what you're basically doing when you do this, and watch this, I'm dipping it, here you can see, I'm dipping it in this, really pounding, wiping off the end, and I'm going across gently, gently, holding my brush at the very end. You've got to take your time when you do this, okay? Wipe, and then just feather, okay? And wipe your highlight. Okay, now you're going to go into your leaves. I'm going to stick with the small brush. Okay, so the light is coming this way across. So I want it to hit right here. I'm not going all the way up though, because this is also going to be a form of depth. And I'm going to go down here. Now you do have to wipe out a little of it. There we go. Back here, I'm only going to wipe out the edge. I'm jumping around, I know. But when you do a wash, and the colors underneath will be a lot darker because we already did the second coat, right? And then just blend. Try to blend them back. And here I'm going to just sort of blend them back. You have to expose some of it. Okay, let me get a bigger brush. Okay, here. And remember, the colors underneath this will be darker because you will have already done that fire. So like here, they'll be more like, not quite that dark, more like this underneath. You can do wet on wet if you want to, but it's not easy. So, but that would give you an idea of what the color would look like underneath. There, just to give you a little bit of an idea. And of course you'd have, oh, all right. And then we have the maple leaf here. And you just have to keep playing till you get it and you're happy with it. If you're not, you can add color back in, but you can't really add it back in anywhere other than on the leaves. So if you want to add a little like orange here, you can do that. Let me get some orange on here. Like this, see? Oh, that's too bright. But if you add color back in the background, you're going to screw things up, okay? Now, I have a yellow in the background on here, and I'll show you what I'm going to do shortly. So you keep going around like this. And up here, the light would be there, 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 there. And you pull it back. And there'd be a little light here. And maybe a little light here. And you just keep lifting the light until you get it the way you want it. And of course, you're going to have more color underneath. So it will help you if you've already done that first fire there. And then I'm just going to lift this one real quick just so you see it there. Okay. Okay. All right, now, these would all be darker because we talked about the fact that we would, like, these would have a little orange on them and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then you're going to go back in and, like, your caps would have the dark on them from the last fire. See, so they would look a little different. They would look more like this. Okay. Then you can take your sponge, this round makeup sponge, put your finger in the middle, take it out, and you're going to start here and lightly pat. And if you want that yellow underneath to show, you're going to pat a little heavier. Now my yellow is not vibrant enough to show yet. You can even pat over your leaves if you want. And then I come this way, and then I come up this way. Oops. Let me come over this way. I'm being a little heavy-handed. There we go. I just want to get it so it's all fairly even. You don't want to see any lines if you can help it. Okay, then you can use your finger around the edge if you want. You can use a Q-tip around the edge if you want. I think a Q-tip or even a sponge is probably better. Oh, you can't see down there. There we go. Because it will lift and leave you a nice, clean edge. And then if you want to put gold on it, which I'm lousy at, you can. Now that gives you an idea of what you can do to finish this. Then, before you put it in the kiln, let it set a while. Because you're going to find that even though you think right now, oh, that's fine, it looks great. Let it set a while, and then you're going to go, oh, you know what? I should have done blah, blah, blah. You can still do it. You can either use a dry brush and go back in, or you can use like this. Or you can use a brush that you put turpentine on and go back in and just fine tune some of this. This is kind of the way I wanted it to look. This is how it's turned out. Now, remember I said this is not the order I would do it in. I would do the color first on the center section, fire it, and then put the brown all over and pull out the colors. And then that way you have more color to pull out from. Because this way, when I did it just now, a lot of the things were a lot starker than I wanted them to be. And if you want more yellow in the background, and when you're doing the, if you want the center to be lighter, you should then add like a lighter color. Add a yellow or something to your wash when you're doing the center section, and wash it with yellow, and then as you come out, add the darker color. You can do a lot of different things with it. Pick up those brushes, keep painting.